Roblox has definitely had an abundance of games that have platforming elements in them, whether it just be standardized obbies or more open-ended non-linear platforming games. My favorite has always been Robot 64. Developed by Z Kevin, the same individual who crafted Super Cube Cavern and Cleaning Simulator, Robot 64 is a 3D platforming title that takes very evident inspiration from Super Mario 64, plus other titles like Yonoid 2 and A Hat in Time. This game was supposedly released sometime in the ballpark of April of 2018, I believe, and ever since its inception in 2018, it's been regarded as a pretty solid game by most people. I personally completed this game all the way back in 2019, and it's stuck with me ever since, so you know what? Let's review it. Once you boot the game, you're greeted with a swift tutorial. There's no opening cutscene or cinematic or anything. You just press play and go. I would say that's commendable, honestly, considering it gets you right into the action of the game. Plus, this tutorial really gets things right in my opinion. It's quick, concise, and helps you get accustomed to the game, and is actually pretty easy while maintaining some challenge. The tutorial is mainly tasked with instruction on how to use the moveset in this game. You have an attack, a standard jump and a double jump, a long jump, a ground pound, and a wall jump by jumping whilst on a surface perpendicular to the ground. In addition, there are some more advanced moves in the game, like say diving and backflipping, but overall, I would have to say for a platformer I have to control by using a mouse and a keyboard, this moveset is actually really good. This moveset has a diverse yet manageably simple range of moveset options. Instead of having one or two ways of getting past an obstacle, you instead have this huge range of moves. So once you come across said obstacle, you decipher which move specifically is appropriate for the situation. Now, with the moveset over with, the tutorial is finished and we are provided with the story of this game, providing context as to why we're doing all of this. The story goes as follows. A character by the name of Dr. Smar instructs Bebo to destroy the sun. Okay, seriously, stay with me for this one. This causes Bebo to ask with rightful confusion,
how am I going to do that? Am I just going to throw a bunch of ice cream at it?
To which Dr. Smar replies, yeah. And yep, that is pretty much the entire narrative. But honestly, I kinda like how bonkers this plot is. This game overall also has a lot of absurdist moments like this, and honestly, it gets my sense of humor pretty well. Man, I just love Bebo in this game. He's just this overly dry, snarky, aloof sap, and I love it. Everybody else besides Bebo is so whacked out and spew out the most random and odd rubbish imaginable, and it always squicks out Bebo. So all in all, this game is surprisingly funny, and I'll be going over some specific examples of humor in this game whilst we go over the levels. So to enter these levels, we must go throughout the hub. Not unlike Super Mario 64, the hub is a nice, open area that is very good with practicing the controls and whatnot. There isn't a whole lot to do in the hub besides the level creator. Man, that's a good addition. The main part of the hub is the observatory, which houses a grand majority of the levels, plus some side missions. There's a couple of shops in the observatory, allowing you to customize Bebo via skins and hats. Unfortunately, all of the skins and a hefty amount of the hats are behind a paywall since they require tokens, which are used at Dunkin's cans. A little disappointing, but I guess you have to monetize the game somehow. So yeah, that's over with. Let's get into our first level, Turtle Tops. Turtle Tops takes place on a giant turtle and houses some of the easiest ice creams in the game. Like pretty much every level, there are 7 ice creams in this world. One of the first ice creams you'll most likely get is across the spinning platforms, which is a little platforming challenge in the open. You can cheese this one pretty badly by using the jetpack, but nonetheless, it's fine. And yeah, the jetpack. It's one of the 3 power-ups in this game, and it's actually my personal favorite. It's most comparable to the wing cap from Super Mario 64, and I've never really liked how it was controlled in that specific game. I just never personally thought it was as intuitive to say the cape from Super Mario World. However, I would actually go and say that the jetpack is an improvement to the wing cap, at least control-wise. It's a lot more forgiving with your momentum and just the overall controls. There's a mission that utilizes the power-up, Bebo Wings into the Sky, where you go through various rings to get the ice cream. Man, I remember having a really rough time with this mission when I first played this game, but it's actually not that bad for me anymore. Even as much as I think the jetpack is an improvement to the wing cap, you still turn just a tad bit slower than I would fancy for the jetpack. I also would have made the rings just a little bit bigger and the jetpack a bit snappier. Not a bad mission by any means though. There's also a mission titled Tread to the Top of Turtle Tops, where you race Speed Boy to the top of the mountain of Turtle Top. Again, comparable to Super Mario 64, at least pertaining to the Koopa the Quick missions. Anyway, Anyhow, there's also a couple of linear platforming challenges here, like always wash your hands and climbing the purple tower. I quite like these missions since they break up the pace quite nicely, plus they have a nice aesthetic with some really nice music. And lastly, the more fetch questy missions. Catching fireflies and turtle tops, requiring you to find 10 fireflies, and hunting 8 egg missions underwater where you find 8 eggs. These were pretty good and didn't overstay their welcome, and plus the locations for both the eggs and the fireflies were very well hidden. Overall, Turtle Tops is a great introduction and has a nice variety of missions, having linear platforming, collection quests, and what have you. If I had to rate it, I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10. Naughty's Resort is definitely not as vast as, say, Turtle Tops, but I actually kind of like how more compact this level is. First things first, I have to say, the presentation on the outside portion of this level is great. The way the sun looks like it's about to set provides some pretty clean looking golden hour lighting that fits the beach aesthetic very well. And overall, this level houses some very fun objectives. My favorites have to be the one where you have to skateboard and get a certain amount of points to impress Cool Bro. The skateboard is the second power up right after the jetpack, and the skateboard is snappy, easy to control, and has a lot of tricks. Plus, the mission pertaining to this black hole in the hotel was rather humorous. It wasn't anything too special gameplay wise, you just kind of feed the black hole objects until you get the ice cream, but the fact there's just nonchalantly a black hole in this hotel is just... oh no, you're funny. And again, the linear platforming challenge. Once again, was a nice break of pace. But probably the most notable mission is the first boss fight in this game. The fight against this so-called Naughty. And let me tell you, the song that plays during this boss fight is immaculate. I'm not a music critic or anything, nor do I claim to be one. But even at that, I have to say, this game provides some pretty killer tracks. So yeah, the boss fight was good and they managed to make a maze actually fun in a platformer. Wow. But overall, I would have to give Naughty's Resort an 8.5, just tied with Turtle Tops. Here we have the Hecklands, the lava-themed level. I know of some certain people that have had some serious trouble with this particular world on a first playthrough, especially with the tricky jumps and dives mission. This one will really test your capabilities with the game's moveset. But besides that, the 8 eggs and Speed Boy make a return. I actually quite like how there are some reoccurring missions in this game, and they always seem to shake up the missions each time they're in a world. Plus, a new reoccurring mission spawns from the Hecklands. The objective regarding this poor sap called Job. You essentially have to harass this depraved individual by continuously attacking him whilst he pleads for you to stop. I feel really bad for this guy and for laughing at him, but some of the dialogue that comes from this guy, my goodness. Oh yeah, and going down a dark alleyway. Probably the most bizarre mission in this entire game. The skateboard returns from Naughty's Resort and helps you get across all the lethal landscape in all of this level, and is utilized to help you get to the boss fight of this area. Yeah, another boss fight. This time we have to fight the Heck Lord. All you have to do is ram into him a number of times with your skateboard. Blocks fall down this ramp that he spawns and you just have to maneuver around them. I will say that this boss fight probably could have used some animations considering it just kind of like sits there. Still a pretty good boss fight. Overall, yet another solid world from this game. These first 3 worlds have all had objectives that are very hit. That is probably the lamest thing I've ever said in one of these videos. In my opinion, there hasn't been a single miss throughout any of these objectives. Oh yeah, and I forgot. A mission I liked in particular was this objective regarding water and lava. The way Bebo just pops out of the water into a dive is really satisfying and makes this really fun. And the swimming controls in this game are very intuitive and honestly kind of fun too. Speaking of which... here we have the water level for Robot 64. Once again, the swimming controls are very nice and smooth and very swift as well. Your speed is pretty much not hindered at all in this level, which I appreciate. Although I'd like to state though, the map in this level I think is just a little bit too big. You have to understand that you're not just bounded to the ground for the majority of the level. Plus, I'm gonna be real with you and I hope this doesn't sound too harsh. A lot of the objectives in this world are kinda boring. The egg mission in this level is probably the weakest in my opinion, again because of how expansive the map is. Although I will say, the mission involving Job in this level is, once again, hilarious, and it's actually pretty fun considering how you can just punt this guy just miles away from your character. Also, I see a lot of people complain about making the longest jumps possible, but I don't know about you, but I don't find that one that hard actually. Definitely not the best at the game, but it's still not horrible or anything. Before we move on to the latter half of levels, let's take a look at the hub's missions. I adore getting to the top of the observatory purely because of this interaction between you and Sheldon's side. Take a look.
Can you help me?
No.
How about I give you an ice cream?
Deal.
Here we go!
Anyways, the objective involving the mirror was also pretty cool, and so was the slide mission as well. Yeah, it's just more of the same from Super Mario 64, but both these missions were still pretty intriguing in their own rights, especially the side level. Man, that one is fun considering how swift you can get on the slide. Anyhow, time for the next world, Tiny Huge Bedroom. tiny huge bedroom is an example of the trope in games where you explore to scale up location in some sort of housing. The reason this is a reoccurring theme in games is because it just kind of works. It makes mundane, everyday tasks genuine challenges due to your size. Robot 64 is no different, considering this level is really good. The objectives like filing out homework, setting up the computer, returning a dice block, and even playing Bebo's theme on the piano, plus the mission where you have to go on the shelf, are all really charming since they take advantage of your size, and again, make mundane tasks some sort of a challenge. Plus, I'd like to add that the music in this stage, man, it's good! It's probably the best track in the entire game. There are 2 missions that take place outside of the bedroom, one being an egg mission, and one being this wire swinging mission. The egg mission was good, I don't really know what to say about it, but the wire swinging mission. Anyways, I didn't have a whole lot to say about this world in particular, but I did have a lot of fun playing this one. It did feel a little short though, and that's probably due in part that all of the charming missions are pretty quick. But yeah, still a really good world. 7.5 out of 10. New Neo City has an actually pretty interesting aesthetic. I haven't really seen this Neo City theming done before in a platformer before. The closest I think I've seen it been utilized was New Super Lucky's Tale. Disregarding that though, this level brings back the jetpack, fireflies, and Speed Boy. I honestly feel like Speed Boy works really well for this level considering how many buildings there are to jump from. The rest of the missions though are pretty decent. Nothing worth going in depth with though. First off, the mission I see everybody complaining about. Corner jumping upwards. Again, like with making the longest jumps possible, I don't have problems with this one, but I'd probably still get rid of it. Besides that, there is short jumping around, which is a typical platforming zone level, except for the fact that they limit your moveset. These particular sections prohibit you from double jumping, diving, and spin attacking, which is a decently clever idea. I think out of these, you get to really test your raw platforming skills. But overall, this world's alright. Nothing I'm absolutely pumped to play, but nothing flawed. 7 out of 10. Alright, the last world. Now for this particular stage, instead of being a vast world, Planet Kababulon houses 6 challenges that are themed around the former levels we just discussed, plus one final level to see if you actually honed in on your skills throughout this entire game. It's essentially a conglomerate for everything we've been discussing over these past 12 minutes. I always like the final daunting task levels, but I especially like them when they form their theming over the prior levels. So let's see how this turned out. Decently challenging platforming, not too easy, not too hard. You get to slide, grind with the jetpack, and then get to scale Naughty's resort, like the building. Really fun. Collect 8 eggs while hopping from tree to tree. I don't know, I just like this one. I feel like it did a good job of placing the trees to where you can hop between them, but how does that physically work again? Once again, the water gimmicks are cool, but this definitely could have been a little bit longer. Oh well. You know, this would have been good if the wire swinging wasn't used. The wire swinging's controls are pretty unintuitive, and I feel like they're a little bit too loose. There's not a set path where the wires can go because they can virtually go anywhere considering they're using the Roblox physics to move. Huge slide, very fun. While this has some pretty annoying jumps, I feel like this level utilizes the mechanics of Robot 64 in some pretty interesting ways, especially with the battery jumping and the jetpack. Plus, the latter half of this level being designed like an obby was, in my opinion, pretty charming. So yeah, the challenges for this level were pretty nice. A little frustrating in some areas, but hey, provided some pretty good challenge. So, 7.5 out of 10. But we're not done yet. This is supposed to be the final level after all, and that calls for the final boss. Every step, jump, dive, long jump, backflip, whatever. Every whacked out NPC we've conversed with, all whatever you'd call that, finally leads up to this. Here, we take on the sun. For the boss fight, it's a 2D vertical shooter. Now, I found this pretty weird at first, but the controls were actually really nice, and once again, the music. It's good. If I personally made this game, I would have taken some apparent notes from Super Checkpoint's final boss fight since it still involves platforming, but this isn't bad either. I don't really know what else to say about this fight. It wraps up the game, it's challenging, yeah. But if you die, I'm pretty sure you have to start all the way back from the beginning. So be careful here. Once you defeat the final boss, you are greeted with the final credits and are placed right back in the tutorial, finishing how we started. If you play any levels from this point on, they're all at nighttime since, you know, you kind of destroyed the celestial body that supplies us with light. I honestly really like this touch, and it gives you the accomplished feeling of, yep, I did it. So yes, that's Robot 64. Not really. Here is the snow level of this game. This is the only level to really utilize the flamethrower power-up. Not only can it give you increased momentum whilst jumping, it can also defrost obstacles. It is used in missions like a mushroom in ice, throwing flames, and Job's frozen ice cream. That mission in particular is hilarious because of how randomly huge Job is in this level. Plus, it makes you physically walk up the wall with the flamethrower. It's really cool. So overall, yeah, this is great. This level visually is beautiful, and all the objectives were just spot on. I honestly wish this was a more full level, comparative to, say, Turtle Tops. Interestingly enough, this level initially was going to be a desert level. You can still play the unfinished version of this supposed desert level when you go into the debug room in the hub, although, again, it's unfinished. Now, deserts and comparative to B levels, which one is better? Personally, I'll have to choose the bees, man. It's such a more interesting aesthetic. Buzz Factory is not vast in the sense that it's an open plain, as it fills the space vertically. There's a mission that revolves around getting to the top of the hive, and there's a mission right beneath that one where you fend off some huge bees. I'm also pretty sure this technically counts as a boss fight, but I don't really count it as one. It's really easy. There's also one where you collect honey in differing places in the map, plus some other odd platforming missions, and we have ourselves yet another winner of a level. I don't have a whole lot to say about this one. It feels occupied, it's a decent size, and once again, for the 500th time, the music in this level is really good. Not unlike Snow Zone Cave, I really would have liked this if this was a more expansive level and had those couple extra ice creams. 8 out of 10. Okay, we're done with that. That took way too long. I'm very glad to get this game off my list of reviewing, considering the fact that it's always been one of my favorite games on Roblox. And yeah, after replaying it for this video, I can still say that it holds up. The visuals, the humor, the controls, the level design, it's all pretty good, honestly, for a Roblox platformer, and I don't really have any major complaints for the game, so you know what? I think this game is actually... And honestly, I kinda like how bonkers this plot is. I can't frickin' talk! Yeah, I don't know what that was either. What is Roblox 64?